right, everybody. Hopefully y'all can hear me okay. And for those of you here, where's Bilderback? Where's David? Well, you go grab him. My missing dairy gauge specialist has some prizes. So the first 5 people to ask a question, so I don't have to go through my list of pre-stage questions, each of you get, oh, good, my other dairy managed specialist has them, gets a free tote bag. So be the first to ask a question, get a tote bag. Yes, I am bribing you. No, I don't feel bad about it. So if you 3 don't mind, can you just introduce yourselves real quick and we'll let them fight over the bags in a second. As thorough as you want to be. You can hold that. Great.
Start now?
Yeah, go for it.
Hello, I'm Willis Shrock from Russellville, Kentucky. We milk 65 jerseys and bottle our milk.
So that just tells it to Zoom, so you're still going to have to be loud for the room.
Oh.
I know, I'm sorry.
That's unfair.
Technological age.
Yeah, I'm Willis Shrock from Russellville, Kentucky. We milk 65 jerseys, and we bottle milk, have for 14 years. And so everything we do is in glass, and my family helps me.
I'm Terry Rowlett. I'm from up in Henry County, Campbellsburg, Kentucky. We're milking presently about 70 cows. And in my opinion, that's probably 70 too many at times, especially when the feed bill comes in, but it's not enough when the milk check comes. But my sister and I, we started a creamery back in September of 2019. And we make butter, cheese, and ice cream. And we have a small on store in our creamery. But our creamery is not located on our farm for a couple of reasons that I just didn't want it there.
I'm Omar Stoltzfus. I'm the cheesemaker for Country View Creamery in Trenton, Kentucky, Todd County. We don't milk our own cows, but it is a community-owned and operated facility. So we take in small family farm milk from the community there and process it there in our creamery. Shareholder owned, and yeah, myself and Wayne Burkholder is here as well, along with 2 or 3 other people operate it. All out of the community, all the milk comes out of the community locally.
This is to keep myself on time, because I'll cut myself off too, don't worry. All right, so who wants the first bag? Somebody ask the question. Go, go, go. All right.
You kind of gave us a teaser there, but why did this not build your processing plant off?
The reason we built off of the dairy farm is 2 reasons. One of them was kind of alluded to this morning by someone making the presentation, that if you have visitors come to your farm and they've got 2 children and all, and they get out, they go 10 different directions. They see cows and they're gone. And that's a liability, as our attorneys tell us. Second reason was we were borrowing money, and we knew we would have to deed off a section of land to have for the creamery. And if something happened to our creamery and we had to sell it, we didn't want that to come out of our farm. So to finish up, we went 3/4 of a mile up the road to a commerce park and built our creamery there on 2 acres of land.
So for those of you online, if you couldn't hear the question was
the advantages and disadvantages of glass versus
advantages and disadvantages of using glass versus plastic or other packaging.
The advantage is you're not adding to the landfills. It's like Go Green, that's one of the part of the book. And I like the glass. I think there's a better flavor. And when you have non-homogenized products, plastic cream will stick to the top and glass will not. And it'll create a rancid smell, and you assume well, it's not. So that's an advantage in glass. The disadvantage in the glass is that we lose about 20% a week, but they're paid for, so we have to resupply all the time. And we have lost sales because they didn't want to mess with the glass. Distributors don't like the glass liability on the return side. So we do all our own delivering. We have 5 trucks and we do all our own delivery several days a week. So that's the long and the short. It is a constant battle to keep supply there. You figured out it. Wow.
Yes, Ms. Morgan.
This question is for Terry. Did you think that it was valuable to the class or cheese making, even though the equipment manager had you refrigerator?
The question was about attending a cheese class. Morgan and Bobby Klingenfuss and I, we attended a cheese class just down the road. You'll pass it today when you go to Cheney's at the Western Kentucky University. It was to my advantage because I had never made cheese before. I never made butter before. I never made ice cream before, other than when my mom made it, I cranked it and all. This has all been a learning curve for me and my sister. And so I think we need more classes like they had down at Western, and I've talked to Fred, if he's still here, about it. We need more classes for people that is interested in doing this in the state. Sometimes short courses, call it, or something of that nature. But we need it so that people can get an idea. And Ricky Gully was instrumental in helping me get started, as he has been with a lot of producers here in the state, in making cheese and other products. He came when I made my first batch and helped me. And after it was over, we sat down at night and I wrote out every step. And I still use those steps. But yet, attending the cheese class that we did down here, I got to add a lot to those steps that maybe I forgot that Ricky said, little bitty bits and pieces and all, but I got to add to them.
I'd like to add to that comment.
Please do.
Those classes will give you the basics. They'll give you the good basics, but to really fine tune, especially if you want to differentiate, like make a different type of cheese, that's when you need to get into your own, nitty gritty. But to get the basics, those short.
From nothing here, in my experience.
Willis, I know you don't do cheese, but did you do any kind of training or classes before you started bottling, or you just figured it all out on your own?
Well, 14 years ago, there was none. So we did it all on our own, basically. So we make whole milk, 2% skim, chocolate milk, half and half, cream, buttermilk, egg noggins, drinkable yogurt, ice cream base, and butter.
So the list of things you don't make might have been shorter. More questions? I don't get a bag. Yes, ma'am.
What was the challenging aspect?
So the question was, what was the most challenging part of getting your products into wholesale markets? I don't care who goes first. I feel like this is applicable to all of you. Who feels like talking?
Well, my greatest challenge was to read all their applications and fill them out where they were at, and then comply with them. Now it's not as difficult as it was then. I understand the process. Sprouts, we're in 7 Whole Foods or 9 Whole Foods, 7 Sprouts, and a bunch of Fresh Markets. Sprouts was probably our toughest one. I worked with them for weeks. They wouldn't even recognize me until finally I got to talk to the dairy manager. Actually, I watched Shark Tank and learned how you be persistent. So I called, Sprouts is based in Phoenix, so I called them every day. And I would just, first I just got a voice. Finally, I got to the operator and I said, whoa, I want to talk to somebody. They would just run you down the line. So I finally got talking to the dairy manager, and I told her, she said, well, why is your product better than anybody else's? I said, well, I'm not sure. If you would try, maybe you could decide. And I said, can I send you some? She said, sure. So I went down, bought my big ice chest. I filled it full of ice products. FedEx it to Phoenix with a signature and an email, so I knew when they got it. And I waited 24 hours. I called her. On the second ring, she picked up the phone, said, "Is this who I think it is?" And I said, "Well, I'm checking to see if you got the products." She said, "I did." And I said, "What do you think?" "I want to know all my stores you can get into." So then it was all over. But boy, I spent hours trying to get to that point. But Whole Foods, we've been in Whole Foods for most of our time. That goes way back to Brent. That before your time, we got into Whole Foods. David King got us into there. Were you along that time?
We're in Whole Foods, I started helping.
Okay.
That's my seniors of what they've been.
So he got in for us. We piggybacked off of him, got in. So I've been in Whole Foods. And Whole Foods is one of our favorite customers. I like Whole Foods. Probably 30% of our business. We also on our farm, we do Harvest Partners. I don't know if you're familiar with what that is. You sign up online, and then it's people with campers will stop at your farm. Don't get paid. They have a free night of parking at your farm. They're encouraged to spend money at your farm if there's something to do or help or whatever. We have a lot of people from the Eastern Seaboard that comes from New York, New Jersey. They'll stop at our farm, Florida, in the night there. And I'm amazed how eager they are. What's on a dairy farm? You know, they'll ask you, "How often you milk a cow? I mean, how often you do this?" Twice a day. What? Hey, yeah, twice. Well, they thought maybe once a week. I had no idea. We wish. We wish. But I mean, you can make them believe that chocolate milk comes from brown cow. I mean, it's just that simple. But that has really been eye-opening for me as to how unlearned there's a lot of people that don't know what dairy actually is. But Whole Foods is, they had our harvest partner, there's a guy showed up. We didn't realize he was part of Whole Foods. He spent the day there. And I remember him because he left me a great big chocolate bar, and I like chocolate. So now they have come back. 2 weeks ago, they called and asked if we would help them organize a program for animal husbandry, how to maintain cows. Everybody has something in the future. But Whole Foods has got their online applications you can fill out, and they're for the most part they're helpful. But you can't issue somebody else that, hey, you know, take this guy. You have to go in on your own recommendation. You can't. It's hard for they won't accept somebody else off yours.
Well, I'm not into any stores except our own store at our creamery. I do have a couple of 3, 4 people that are purchasing butter from us and using it in their stores. Jericho Farmhouse here, Carolyn Combs is one of those. And then I have one customer up here, Shepherdsville, Kentucky, Cedar Creek Farm. Since the first of the year, he purchased over 100 pounds of butter market in his store. And the ice cream, it all goes out the front door. Customers carry it out, except my sister does make some cups that she takes for church groups and things of that nature that call her and want to do that. And cheese, I haven't got out to other vendors or anybody to try to move cheese. You know, we were in a farmer's market last year in Frankfurt. It was online, and I loved it because we knew what we were supposed to deliver. But they changed it a little bit this year, and so my sister and I elected not to take part.
I can't talk much about our marketing scheme, I guess, our marketer. I'm not our marketer, but we do sell through farmers markets, on farm or on site store, wholesale, a little bit of distributors, and then we're also getting started with private labels. That's just getting started. We're not really into that. As far as hardest part of wholesaling, I think Daniel would tell you, a little bit what Willis did. It's pretty hard to get in stores. He might have more of a niche product than we do. There's lots of cheese around, and you almost have to prove that you're different or better or local or for whatever reason to get into the store. But even after you get into wholesale stores, we've found out you have to keep calling. Can't assume they've called, they like your product, yeah, they want to sell it, but the next week you're going to have to call again. You know, do you want any of our product this week? Those guys are busy, managers, and we're talking a small part of their store, and if they're busy, they won't get around to calling. You have to call them. You have to keep up. So.
Answers, guys, thanks. Yes, sir.
I was wondering, what's the reason for bone line versus cow? Does anybody do the latter? Why cows, not goats?
Well, more cow dairies around, I guess.
Right, and myself being new in the business, I have been contacted by some people that has goats, and it would go. I'd have to get it cleared with Mr. Frank Jackson back there first, because these people are in Indiana, wanting to bring milk and me make it into their cheese, and all. But they only talking about 200 to 300 pounds of milk. Terry here is not versed enough in making cheese to be able to put that in my vat and pasteurize it and be able to make it at all. So I've tried to steer away from that. Not that I'm not saying it wouldn't be a good thing if I could come up with 1,000 pounds of milk. I'd have to talk to Jackson back there and see what logistics, what rules and regulations I had to follow. And I'll say this. Anybody that's wanting to get started in doing this, Milk Safety Branch is and K-Card is your best people to talk to. They really are. We were blessed when we started to have. Well, I said, we getting started in this, and when my sister and I decided in 2018, I had more people that were not family put their feet under my kitchen table for us to talk about this venture than I have since 1974 when I moved to where we're at today. Milk Safety Branch had 5 people there one day. K-Card had 2. Our county officials came because we purchased the land from the county. They were there. GOAP, we talked to them, but because of what Miss Carolyn was asking this morning, and all of Brian, because we're only using our product. We were told that our application was probably one of the best that had been turned into them, but we didn't qualify. We was using our product. We weren't using any other farmer's product. That's part of the ag development. No. And so, but we had all kinds of people there, and every one of them, economic development people, all that, they are a resource that you need to be with. The only people I couldn't get to come talk to me that was a thorn in our side was in Frankfurt was the building and codes people, and all. That's a total different thing. But by the rules that if I was building a plant like Kroger companies built, and all, and that was a trying part.
Questions? One of you.
What was the single most challenging part about building, minus the building, because I know who you're talking about, but
minus the code people in Frankfurt, what was the single most challenging aspect of building?
So hopefully y'all online could hear that, but the question was, what was the single most challenging part of building your plant?
Me?
For all three of you.
Oh,
I mean, you're grade A, which is what I want to be, so really you, but all three of you, what was the single most challenging?
There was a lot of challenges. We wrote a business plan in March of '05, and then we were in construction. We got our first license. A lot of ways that asked a lot of questions. Some are valid and some are not valid.
you can say frankly.
I like Frank. Yeah, he is. I wore out 3 inspectors basically. Heard them before I ever got back into it. I think making them come through with everything or making everything so they're happy was probably the biggest challenge. As far as construction, electrical, plumbing, and everything else, that was just everything. Equipment I got my equipment out of Maryland, Grantsville, Maryland, through Dairy Heritage, and they brought the pasteurizer and the filler and things in and did all the setup and things. And they already knew the codes to make the pipes all fit and everything, that part of it. So that was all, and that wasn't that big. Probably to make sure, and the things that the milk safety branch asks, me they might have seemed invalid, but yet on the second hand, I've got a chart there that records everything that is done. And if there is any issue, problems, we go to court, I want them on my side. That's the long one. Oh, I like mine. We have a good time. Not that he doesn't crack down on us. I like in the sense that if he comes up with an idea, I can challenge him on the idea, and he knows I'm not trying to get around it. I'm just want to know why we're doing this. My big thing. The lack of understanding some of the regulations on my part, I want to argue. It made no sense. But then sometime down the road, it does start.
Well, I don't know what. I guess the most challenging thing was, other than like Trevor said, building in codes. That was the biggest challenge. Well, that's a headache in itself, but was trying to coordinate what milk safety was telling us that we needed to do, to follow the guidelines, and getting our contractors and our plumbers and our electricians to understand that, to understand those. You may have electric codes, yet your codes, they did not know how much lighting that needed to be in the plant. The plumbers didn't know that this drain could not be under a piece of equipment. And you had to beforehand decide where was you going to put this equipment before you ever decided where you were going to put your pump. And same thing with the electric, because you needed to that. But the electric, maybe toggle it around some, but your plumbing, like breakers, somebody's talking this morning. No, they didn't want to come in until we're up. So we had to make sure we knew where we were going to put our equipment, so it would not be a drain underneath of it. No. And also, where was you going to put your cooler? You couldn't have a drain in there. And those type of things. That was the biggest, I guess, biggest challenge for me was getting everybody on the same page to understand that this is just not a building, a bathroom, or a shop, or something like that. This is basically a dairy plant.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that question for myself. there's a lot of different challenges. Single biggest one, I'm not sure how to say except, or what to say except maybe giving ourselves up to spending the kind of money we did. That was a pretty big challenge. I can relate a bit to what Terry said on the coordination of all the trains, and looking back now, we made some mistakes on that. And I would say that would be probably the biggest thing that I would recommend for somebody that's building a facility. Next to talking to Frank Jackson, you need to talk to an engineer that is familiar with plants. What you need to tell him what you want to do, what kind of equipment you're going to have. Let him lay that plan out, unless you're good enough to do it yourself. Let him lay that plan out in a way that everything's going to work. Trains are going to be where they need to be. Lights are going to be where they need to be. That's a pretty big thing. And that's one thing where we probably weren't as good as we should have been in the existing plant. We've done an expansion since. We're actually in the process now. I spent, I don't know how many months, drawing, redrawing again, scribbling everything out, redrawing. Knowing what I do now, it's a lot harder to coordinate, knowing exactly where I want to set the pasteurizer. So that is probably the single biggest thing. If you go in knowing what you want, how to coordinate around that.
And you had a question also.
This is Councilman Shrock. I've talked to several different ones about making ice cream mix. You make yours non-homogenized, you homogenize your ice cream.
It is homogenized.
Yes,
That's the only thing we've homogenized on this days.
Why does it need to be homogenized? Some people say you can't, some say you can't.
To get a better blend, finished product, less sugar separation in the end.
Get a smoother product. Right?
Smoother product, yeah. It's just, yeah, we used to grow up at home, we never did homogeneous, of course. The products we use in the stabilizers, we used to stay, it needs to be as a smooth product.
Doing a high fat content ice cream and high fat, but homogenizing that the fatty coating in the mouth.
Well, that's all part of making the base is ice cream is gauged by how it slides off the spoon. And that's got to do with stabilizers, homogenization, and that whole thing. So it's all worked out in the details when you start.
Just for context, if y'all couldn't hear, that question was, do I need to homogenize my ice cream mix? And would it help if I had a higher fat or like a premium fat ice cream mix? More questions?
I have a question. This is for the producer processors. Do you sell milk to a co-op, or if not, then how do you balance what you need with what you have? And then if you have plans to expand, are you going to expand do you plan on expanding by increasing the herd size or finding other producers in your area? What is that conversation?
In our case, we put in a separator. So the excess milk we'd separate out, throw the skim away, and then use the cream to make butter. Now we've grown to the point where we're actually buying milk from other farmers. Now I've got places I can buy any milk that I want. On a given week. That's the way my situation is
Yes, I sell milk to a co-op. And it's kind of funny how we have to do it though. Our membership agreement with the co-op says I have to market all my milk produced on that farm with the co-op. And I do. Even that's the reason, one of the reasons I had to have be a weigher, sampler, and a hauler license is to take the reading to do the procedures that's supposed to be done by your regular hauler. And when I pull milk from our dairy, I have to stick it, weigh it, record it. I turn it into the co-op. In turn, I'll get paid my regular milk check for that milk. Then I get the creamery gets a separate bill for the amount of milk I use that month. And I'll at the highest price that it's supposed to be. And so we have no problem with that, but I cleared it with the co-op beforehand. And the only problem I got is, even though I haul it from my dairy to my plant 3/4 of a mile away, I still have to pay my regular hauling rate plus fuel surcharge, destination haul. And for as being fair, I don't think that's fair, but for as marketing to the co-op, I got I really don't. And talking about expanding, now our dairy herd, like I said, I'd like to downsize. We milk Holsteins and Jerseys. I'd like to hear the Holsteins, Jerseys for the creamery. And someday my goal is to utilize all my milk in my creamery. And if I do that, then I've got to expand. And my architect that we had to have, he called me and said he had all the plans ready. He said, but I got one question to ask you. I said, what's that? He said, where will your expansion go? I said, expansion? He said, yeah, you expand. I said, I'm not worried about expanding. I'm worried about what I've done. And but I told him where I vision to go. He said, good. So he beefed up some trucks, in order to be able to tie in. And that's one of the things I hadn't thought about until he mentioned it. But if you're going to build, think ahead a little bit. Think ahead a little bit. Don't bottleneck yourself.
Well, I'm not really a producer processor, but I mean, our producer much does the balancing on his own.
You had a question. He had your question. Okay, another twofer.
There was a question on Zoom.
Okay.
How many employees?
So the question from the Zoom chat was, how many employees do you guys have?
Okay, so I've got 5 boys and 3 girls. 6 of them work for me, and one of them milks cows. So that's our force. Well, I got one guy though. He wants to be family. He lives with boys. And he's around there all the time. He's a good guy, but he doesn't have an agreeable home life. So he's our boys. Pretty lucky. And so that's kind of our.
Well, I have a farm help, and then I have creamery help. And on the creamery side, for me, back up just a little bit, my sister, or I was making ice cream, butter, and cheese, doing it all, and I called behind the wall at the store. Last year I had COVID, and that shut me down for about over 2 weeks. So the butter and the cheese took care of itself in the cooler. But ice cream had to be made on a practically daily basis. My sister has took that over. And so she has 3 young ladies that come in, not all at the same time, on weekends, especially to help in the store front, one at a time. And then I have 2 young men that I get when I make cheese. The butter process, I do all that myself. And because for lack of better words, I'm a little bit picky on how it's done, and I want to do it my way on that. And so I don't know when school starts, these 2 young men will be back in school, and the only time available is on Saturdays and Sundays. Saturdays I don't mind, but Sundays I just don't like to do it. But sometimes I have to if I'm caught in the hard ways.
Our operation only processes cheese twice a week. On those days, we've got 5 people in there looking for another person or two. We're really kind of understaffed at this time. So the short answer would be 2 full-time, about 4 part-time.
Yes, Les.
Let's see. Oh, you're not. Passion plan. For your operation.
So the question was, what kind of succession or transition plan do you have in place for your operations? Everyone's favorite question.
Well, while they're thinking, I'll say it. For lack of better words, I don't guess I've had one. My sister has never been married. She's no children. And I have stepchildren that's not interested. And so when that time comes, there'll be a for sale sign put up on the lot. And that was one of my reasons, if you heard my answer to why I didn't put it on the farm. And that was one of them.
I don't have anything, I don't have nothing in writing yet. Quite there yet, don't hustle that.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, that when you got 5 boys you're working with, some days it gets a little hairy. They all down, they think this and should do this and so on. But the way we structured our situation is that on Mondays we process. So everybody's in the plant. Tuesday, we got 5 routes. So everybody's got their own route on Tuesday. So they're all gone. And then I have a daughter that comes in on Tuesday and she pasteurizes milk for Wednesday's processing, because pasteurize all the milk in one day and bottle it all day. So on Wednesday, then everybody's back at the plant. We have 1 truck on the road Wednesday. Then Thursday, we have 3 trucks on the road and 1 guy's back in the plant making the ice cream base. Everybody's got their job and kind of scattered out as much as they can, yet we're all together. If that makes sense. But as far as who's going to take it on, we talk about it occasionally, not too often. But every now and then it comes around. But I was a little concerned at some point in time, the boys were, they wanted to go do something else. And some people, some farmers make their boys or have their boys go work 2 years for somebody else before they come back home. That's not too bad an idea. Some of my boys did go away and work and then come back. I had one that's been with me all along, and he was just going to do another job. I said, he's going to do another job. He's going to mess that thing. Also, he went and applied for a job and got down to the last Friday night, the second week before the new job on Monday. He was checking. I said, well, wish you good luck in your next job. And he said, well, I guess, all right, I'll just stay here. And it's just changed the whole motto. And know that he could leave if he wanted to. Now he don't want to leave. Now he's really digging in and taking hold now. So my youngest one is 21 and my oldest one is 20. It was 28. There's some older than that. One about 27. They are in the last 2 years. They have really picked up aggressively to the point where they can run everything perfectly without me. And I told my wife one day, I said, they're putting money in the bank and taking money out of the bank. I'm not sure what I'm for anymore. Say right to me, it just all of a sudden feel like we're turned out to pasture. When there's trouble, I'll be there. I still get up every morning, or I get up like this morning. I was out at 4:30. I do the separating, get everything ready. They come in at 6:30 and 7 o'clock. They start. I feel like I have a hands-on yet. I know what's going on. They can finish and clean up. I don't have. They get their own order, and everyone's got their own routes, so they get their own orders in. And they see to their trucks are loaded. And, and decisions, when you change something that's nice, it works the best if everybody's there and they all got their voice. They know that just they got a voice and they don't hurt. They're not going to get their way, but the majority rules in that setting. But it's getting better with age. I mean, they all go through that phase where the younger ones don't know nothing and, they can't do nothing right. Go through all that. But they're slowly outgrowing that, but at this point I have hopes, and I'm pretty certain that a couple of them will stick with it.
For us, with a community venture like we have, I mean, so far, for now, it's a pretty young business, so everybody involved is fairly young yet. I can't say that we really have a plan, except being a community venture, we're just hoping the next generation in the community will. There's a lot of interest there, so I don't really foresee that as being a big problem.
Well, and apparently I thought we had till 3 and we don't. So congrats, y'all. Y'all are done. So before I release you, are there any things you want to tell the group before we're done? Any tidbits, words of wisdom, cautions?
The only thing I'll say is, if you're going to try to operate your farm, do a business like this, make sure you've got good labor force either on the farm or in the business. If you don't have family, because you're going to find initially, if you're thinking you're going to work 40 hours a week, my opinion, and run the plant and everything, forget it. You will find it will take a third to 50% more time if you do it and do it right in the initial process. Eventually you'll get things down, but it just takes more time. My sister's motto is, with our products, keep it fresh, but yet keep everything simple.
Yeah, so it looks overwhelming to start a process like this. There's things I wasn't familiar with and things I didn't know how to turn out. But there is a big reward in the sense, they write a nice review on the page. You see their smiles. That's the reward. Yeah, we make a little money. We have a lot of money. We make very little. But there is a satisfaction of knowing the job well, and you were part of the process. That's rewarding.
I don't know, from the cheese side, I would say the biggest thing we learned was that if you're trying to make aged specialty cheeses, it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of money and inventory. Something that we really hadn't thought about till we started is how much money is actually going to be tied up in inventory. Do you want to start a specialty cheese business? Make sure you've counted all the costs when you start. There's a lot of money tied up in inventory, tons of money, more than you think.
My motto on that is, it costs $100,000 to do something. Might as well figure something out. Right. That's you get closer there than you think. Yeah.
All right, y'all, we'll give our speakers a round of applause. Thank you for their time.